focused or not, but I'm tired of fiddling with it, so let's just get started, shall we? You wanna come up here? Come up here. Whoa! This way. Okay. He gets really hyper after bath. So hello, and welcome at last to a new episode, I guess you want to call it, of Topless Topics, the channel that seeks to destigmatize and, dare I say it, desexualize female nudity through repeat exposure. If you're new here, I have lots of videos I've already done on the whole purpose of these types of videos and everything, so before you start with the usual you're a whore, slut, detention, blah blah blah, I suggest you go watch them. Yeah, get tired of saying that. But it's been a while since I made a new video, so I figured I probably should do that. Little caveat, however you say that word. Dog, did you just fart? Oh, this dog is so foul. Anyway, I'm going to go off the assumption that if you're watching this, you either are new to the channel or at least haven't watched my update video that I did a couple weeks ago, where I explained why I've been kind of MIA. I'm assuming you didn't watch it because I wasn't naked in it. But long and short of it is I'm pregnant, and just a lot has been going on home life wise that has made it kind of hard to have the time and energy to make new videos. But it's Sunday. Matthew is working overtime at work. I just finished pretty much my whole list of chores for today, and I thought, you know, this is the time to finally make a new video. And the subject for this video, and it's funny because I woke up at 5 this morning because my body hates me, and I spent like the next 2 hours thinking about what I was going to say on this video, and now that I'm actually recording it, I'm already so tired that I'm like, whatever. But the title of this video is going to be Pregnant and Still Pro-Choice. Now, even that and, I was wondering, should I say but pro-choice, yet pro-choice? And I decided to go with and because really my whole point in this video is that those don't have to be mutually exclusive statements. You can be pro-choice and still, you know, love and want kids. Because that is unfortunately a misnomer that a lot of anti-choicers have. But first I was going to rant a little bit about, not even rant really, but just talk a little bit about the experiences I've had of being pregnant. Partly because this is my, you know, my personal blog or whatever, even though I put it on the internet for everyone to judge or whatever. And also just, you know, same as with all my videos, maybe someone else out there having similar experiences, and maybe it's helpful or at least reassuring to hear someone else is having the same experiences. Or, you know, maybe we're having totally different experiences, in which case please go ahead and, you know, leave a respectful comment telling me, you know, what your pregnancy was like, or if you know, witnessed your wife having pregnancy, or friend or family. Friend is what my cosplayer friend calls her followers, which I think is a little patronizing, but whatever. So I am, I think, about 10 weeks and 3 days now, according to the initial sonogram ultrasound, I'm not sure which is which, that I got on December 4th, which said that I was 8 weeks on Monday, so whatever, do the math. My due date is supposedly July 14th. It's not exactly a planned pregnancy. I was taking birth control, but you know, it's not 99%, and we weren't bothering with condoms and stuff like that. By the way, in case you didn't know, adult subjects, not even adult really, but just, you know, biological subjects, maybe some incendiary opinions out here. I totally forgot to add that one earlier. So yeah, just so you know. If you couldn't guess from the title, because obviously no conversations about being pro-choice could ever be, you know, child appropriate or non-incendiary. Oh, sarcasm. But anyway, so I'm, about 10 weeks in a couple of days, and but this is my first pregnancy that I've managed to get this far, and I think I was pregnant once before, but I only had it for about 2 weeks and then I lost it. But it happened so quickly that I didn't even have time to be like, oh, I'm pregnant. So yeah, it's the first pregnancy that I've gotten this far in. And the symptoms have been not amazing, but definitely not the worst that I've read about online. I've been nauseous pretty much nonstop. can you stop chewing for, this is why I gave him another bath, he keeps chewing, and so I tried this whole, watch them in Epsom salt thing to see if it works, and I don't know, maybe when he's drier it'll work. But anyway, I've had nausea pretty much every day, but there's only been a couple of days where it was actually bad enough to make me throw up. Usually it's just sort of a bleh feeling throughout the whole day. There's been a couple of days where I've had pretty bad cramps, and I was actually like, every time that would happen I would get really worried, like, oh my god, I'm about to have a miscarriage, because even though it's planned, I have wanted kids for a very long time, so, you know, it's fine, we're rolling with it. Let's see, there's been, yeah, that's pretty much it. There hasn't been any bleeding. I, you know, like every idiot, I keep going on WebMD and everything and looking at everything that could possibly go wrong, and most of it hasn't happened to me. Some women have perfect pregnancies in the sense that they don't feel any ill effects, but one website said that if you have a very easy pregnancy, it means the chance of miscarriage is higher, unfortunately. And I mean, who knows if that's true? That's just what some websites said, and I can't even source stuff because this is literally hundreds of websites that I've Googled over the past couple of weeks. But I admit that I'm feeling more confident now, but for the first while there, I kind of was afraid to even tell anyone because it felt like I would jinx it. And in fact, my mom was like, don't tell anyone until you're in second trimester because, you know, it'll freak them out, and, you know, it'll be that much harder if you have a miscarriage. And I'm like, well, thanks for, you know, putting that delightful spin on it. But I can't hold a secret, so I told everyone anyway. And pretty much everyone's been really cool about it. Even friends that, when I had conversations before about how I wanted to have kids, they were like, no, you need to wait for like ever, like just never have kids. You'll never be able to afford them, you know, that whole thing. Even when I told them, you know, as soon as I told them, you know, I was on the pill, it just kind of happened, they're like, okay, I think you can handle it. And I mean, I think I've obviously said it before, but Matthew is really good with kids. He and I are both the kind of people that whenever we go to like a party or something, if there's kids there and or animals there, that's who we're playing with, not the adults so much, because that's a whole other subject. But you know, kids and animals, they're easier to understand. People, it's like you can't really guess what their motives are and everything. Like today I was taking him for a walk around the block, and I ran into all these new neighbors that I've never met yet. And one of them was this adorable little girl, and I asked what her name was, and she said Elsa. And the father was like, no, she's just obsessed with Frozen. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not worried about the kids being unloved or anything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I was actually going to say more about it, but that's pretty much all there is to say about it so far. Oh, names, I guess. It's still a little bit, you know, too soon to say names. They say that, again, various websites, Google it, check the veracity for yourself. They say that 1 in 5, not marriages, 1 in 5 pregnancies end in miscarriage within the first trimester, so I need to wait like another 2 or 3 weeks before I can really start feeling like, that's probably fine. But at this point, you know, I've had nausea and stuff, but I haven't had any serious complications, so hopefully it's all well. Anyway, so that brings me to the second part of this video, which is funny because originally I was just like, I guess I'll do a video about how it's been during being pregnant. That's not very interesting unless you are pregnant and are searching for videos about pregnancy yourself, which is something I've been doing a lot of too. The pro-choice part. Now, I don't actually remember if I've ever done a video specifically about being pro-choice. I don't think I have, but I've definitely touched on it. It's something, ooh, ice cream truck. He's super overpriced though. I went out there once and they have like Mexican kind of ice creams, which I didn't even know was a thing, and they're all like $4 each, which is crazy for an ice cream truck. Anyway, I am pro-choice, obviously, and it's not really something I've ever struggled with per se, but it is definitely something I've thought about a lot, and I wouldn't say rationalized, but I've definitely, you know, as I try to do with all my opinions, I try to think, why am I pro-choice? Why am I this or not that? And, you know, I've seen many sides of the argument. I've seen the freaking, basically, they're not Westboro, but inspired by Westboro type religious people outside the streets at Comic-Con, where there's, you know, families and children everywhere with pictures of ripped up fetuses going, murderer! And yeah, that's not, you're not going to make anyone believe, you know, you're not going to shock anyone to agree with you. That's something that a lot of people don't seem to realize about a lot of issues. And I've also, you know, I've met militant, I don't know what you would even call them, because it's not so much pro-choice. I've met people that literally are like, if a child has anything wrong with them, they should be killed, no question. And these are not really friends of mine, but I've seen both sides of it. I also, you know, I've experienced, how do I say, this is such a landmine. I have relatives who decided to have their kids despite complications, and obviously if any of those relatives watch these movies anyway, they'd be like, oh, so offended. But for instance, one of them, from what I understand, she had chemotherapy while she was pregnant, and she knew she was pregnant, and she still went through chemotherapy, and as a result, the child is very... I'm sorry if you're watching this and you are, but your child is not a fully functional adult. And, you know, if you want to keep her around, like obviously, well, at this point it's too late to be murder, absolutely, if you killed her. Yeah, not even condoning that. But that is a perfect kind of circumstance where I am absolutely pro-choice. If you are pregnant and you are undergoing a medical, you know, scenario, or you've already found out that the baby is basically going to be a vegetable, or, you know, all these other circumstances, you know, or you're a rape victim, or, you know, like so many circumstances where you should absolutely have the choice. And the fact that there's so many anti-choicers who are, you know, absolutely, the infant should be born no matter what, and all life is sacred, blah, 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 as long as you're born. Once you're born, they don't give a shit about you, which is something a lot of other people have said, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, see, I had a more organized plan for this, but it's kind of a hard to broach subject, I guess. Not really for me and my friends, because we all have a pretty candid relationship with each other. But there's definitely been situations like my boss once was going on an anti-abortion rant, and I was just like, I'm not allowed to say anything or I'll get fired. Yeah, you'll get fired for having disagreeing opinions. Welcome to America. Yeah, so basically what I wanted to say is that I wanted to offer my perspective as someone who loves kids, who, you know, I wouldn't say I think life is sacred, because I'm a pretty secular person. I don't really ascribe to, especially that human life is more important than all other life. I think that there is a balance, circle of life, blah, 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 you know, and the day we that whole thing. But I definitely do prefer to work with what you got, rather than just wipe the slate clean every time anything goes wrong. That being said, you know, they asked me, do you want to take all these various tests? And I went for the easy ones because they don't really hurt you or anything like that. But there's some that actually do have a chance of causing miscarriage. And, you know, like there's one that's specifically for Downs. And it's like, Downs is it's not very divisive, but it's kind of like a line that I use to explain my personal opinion on whether you should get an abortion or not. And again, I'm not advocating like, oh, there's something wrong with your baby, go kill it or whatever, you know, there's something wrong with your fetus. That's a very important distinction, by the way. Clump of cells, not a full-grown baby. That's obviously something that a lot of people don't really consider, though, for some reason. They think life begins at conception, and I don't even know what to say to that, because that to me is just crazy talk. But anyway, basically what I was going to say, and this is, oh my god, I'm going to miss so many people over this video, sorry, I'm just trying to have a conversation about it. I'm not trying to be defamatory, and I'm for the millionth time, and it sucks that we live in a world where I have to keep qualifying this, I'm not advocating go kill everybody, you know, whatever, go get an abortion no matter what. I am not saying anything close to that. I'm saying that it should be an option, well, regardless of situation, pretty much, as long as you're, you know, first or second trimester. Third trimester, then you're getting into murder territory, in my opinion. This whole video is in my opinion, by the way, so just, if I don't say in my opinion, just assume my opinion. I would be fine with a kid with Downs, I believe. Downs is not, and I mean, it ranges in severity from person to person, and to be honest, like, I've known people with Downs. I don't really have any close friends with Downs or any family members with Downs. The family members I do have that have severe mental illness are not mental illness, but, you know, mental, whatever you want to call it, not advanced, you know, not really human functional, are very, 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 very not functional, like still wear diapers at 14 and scream and punch themselves at the throat and are incapable of communication that level. So that being said, from what I've seen, from what I've read, you know, people with Downs, they might take a little bit longer to do things, but by and large, you know, they're just as capable of loving, they're just as capable of, you know, pretty much everything we do, just maybe a little slower. And to me, that's fine. However, if I found out that my child, you know, God or whoever forbid, was going to be born that aforementioned, you know, screaming, pooping, like basically newborn status forever, I would seriously consider getting an abortion. Sorry, I know, oh my god, you're gonna like send me death threats and stuff, because obviously the fact that I'm not a baby means it's okay to send me death threats, because you only care about giving birth, you don't give a shit once that person's born. I've dealt with a lot of online haters before, obviously. I keep saying obviously today, I don't know why. Yes, if I found out that my kid was likely to have a lot of problems, a lot of mental problems, physical problems, I'd probably be willing to work with. I'd be scared because I wouldn't really know what I was doing, but you know, if they said your kid's gonna be born without limbs or something, I'd be like, well, shit. But I think that, you know, prosthetics are enough now and everything like that, that we could give them a reasonably decent quality of life. But anyway, I'm not saying that it would be an easy decision, even though I understand that this thing inside of me is still basically just a parasite. You know, it's not a human being. It's not even the level of a kitten yet. And I mean, kittens are adorable. Like, I would have a really hard time killing a kitten too. It's literally a clump of cells, and the fact that it might become a human being one day does not mean that it is a human being right now. And even if it was, I'll get into that in a minute. This is going to be probably a long video, sorry, whatever. You missed me, right? Yay, video. What was I saying? I would have a hard time making that decision because I still feel attached to what it might become. You know, I have been daydreaming about having kids pretty much my whole life. Like I said, I love taking care of other people's kids, even the problem kids. Like, I'm actually naturally kind of drawn to kids like that. Like, I want to help them out. Also feral animals and stuff, not necessarily related, but just, you know, the broken things are what I really feel drawn to because I really want to show them love and kindness. I don't know why. That's a whole other video. But yeah, I would have a hard time making that decision, but the thing that I really always come back to whenever I'm thinking about, you know, being pro-choice or whatever, is if this kid was capable of reflecting on mortality and, you know, didn't have the fear of death getting in the way that so many of us let our actions be influenced by, would this kid be happy that I continued the pregnancy and gave birth to it? You know, is this kid even going to be capable of thinking about happiness or not happy? You know, there's like in my particular situation, you know, we're not destitute. We have a house. I have a loving husband. We have friends and family and support networks. So financially it'll be tight, but it definitely won't be, you know, oh my God, we can't possibly take care of this kid. And as aforementioned, obviously this kid is going to be showered in love. So for me, the deal breaker would have to be severe, I'm just going to say it because it's actually the medical term, mental retardation. Sorry for breaking your fifis. That's actually the technical scientific term. Look it up. would be my point. But again, I would still have trouble making that decision. I have to be realistic. If you have a child with that many problems, and I mean, I hate the fact that I can already hear like all the responses to this, because I keep seeing the same bullshit get said over and over and over online. I know you're selfish, blah, blah, blah. I think it's more selfish to let your fear of death push everybody, not even just you, because, you know, most anti-choicers are male. At least when you look at, like, you know, groups of people trying to put into, you know, like attack Planned Parenthood and stuff, they're spearheaded and mostly populated by male politicians. I totally lost my point. I miss coffee, you know? This whole not being able to drink coffee or eat sushi thing is hard. Or soft cheese. I miss brie. Letting your own fear of death dictate whether or not you think anyone should be allowed to terminate any pregnancy for any reason, I think is way more selfish than someone making the decision. You know, I don't want to, dare I say it, curse myself, those close around me, the state, the government, whatever, with this thing that maybe looks human, but is completely incapable of taking care of itself, will never take care of itself, will never get back to, you know, get back to society or anything, will just be a black hole of sucking up energy and time and blah, 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 just because it's human. And just because, you know, just because it's related to me, but no, anti-choicers are just because it's human. They have absolutely no problems with, you know, all the non-human animals killed every day for reasons as stupid as nobody wanted it, so it got killed at the pound. Doesn't matter, not human. Human has to live no matter what, as long as it looks human. Doesn't matter if it is incapable of, you know, saying food. It looks human, has to live. Fear of death. Think about it. Why are you so... Why and this message obviously goes out to people that think that abortion should never be an option ever, because poor little babies, blah, blah, blah. Again, not even getting into the whole conception versus birth. Like, why do you think that something being brought to term and given birth is the end-all only option? Regardless of how, you know, self-insufficient it will be, regardless of whether it will be born into an environment where it will be loved, regardless of whether it will be fed enough, regardless of, you know, whether it will be pretty much predetermined by all sorts of factors like location, poverty, everything like that, to a lack of crime. Why is it being born the most important and only important thing? Because as soon as it's born, you don't care about, you know, funding projects to help the poor. You don't help, you know, you don't want to help with free medical insurance. You don't want to help with child education. Anything that actually affects a living, fully functional, working, you know, actual human being. You don't give a shit about that. You just want that thing to be born. Because, oh my God, killing ittle bitty babies is the worst possible thing. So I had a couple things that I did want to mention, even though this video is 23 minutes long now, and I probably lost all the peoples. One thing I wanted to bring up as an example of an extreme that, you know, I'm not advocating, but just to put a little perspective, ancient Greece and Rome actually had very high infanticide rates because they didn't really have birth control and you know, abortions, safe abortions or whatever, available to them. So here's a thing on the history.com, 8 reasons that Spartan, what is it? 8 reasons it wasn't easy being a Spartan. And number 1 is Spartans had to prove their fitness even as infants. Infanticide was a disturbingly common act in the ancient world, but in Sparta this practice was organized and managed by the state. And then, you know, it goes on and on and on. And basically, their society was such that they couldn't afford to have, you know, unfit humans that were just going to be a drain. You know, they couldn't afford, you know, special education for kids that that weren't even capable of, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not even gonna explicate it. Like, I'm not saying it's a black and white area, but you can tell the difference between someone who can take care of themselves and someone who will always be a drain on everyone around them. Spartans and stuff like that, they didn't have time for that. They didn't have that fear of death overriding all other things, and they said, you know what? We don't have the time, we don't have the resources for this, so if a child is weak and firm or whatever like that, it gets killed, gets left on a mountaintop, gets taken away from the state, you know, in various methods. And I mean, that's how a lot of actually ancient Greek, not a lot, but several ancient Greek myths involve, you know, like a child was left, but then a god picked it up or something like that, you know. And that, you know, that's a more extreme example where I'm not saying that, like, you shouldn't have to give up your infant, you know, or give up your pregnancy because a child's going to be a drain. You just, I don't know, maybe you should have to go through a couple classes on just how much of a drain it's going to be. You know, you can't just like have this vaguely human thing and then throw it off to an orphanage. Not that we have orphanages anymore. And be like, your problem now. That's selfish. And also, you know, the other thing I was going to get into, and this is a whole other thing, say the kid is going to be perfectly healthy. That still doesn't necessarily mean that giving birth to it is the best option. If it is going to be born in an environment where, you know, it's not going to get enough food, or it's, you know, the people giving birth to it don't want it, it's going to be unloved, it's going to have a horrible existence, or, you know, it's just going to be born and then shipped off to a foster because, oh my God, death is the worst thing, but God forbid I should take care of my own kid that I just gave birth to. Those might be circumstances as well where abortion would be the more merciful choice. And it's, I can just hear all the screaming voices online going, no, you're an evil murderous bitch, babies, please calm down. Please stop throwing, you know, passionate, hateful rhetoric at me, and please try to think about this for yourself. As with always, please try to identify why you feel this way, and make sure that it is the logical, rational choice for you, and not just something you were told by your parents or your church or whatever. So back to the whole unloved thing, and that is another circumstance where it's definitely a tough choice, but it may be the most merciful, honestly. We already have, you know, overpopulation continues to be more of a problem, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of but and then blah 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 you could throw in about that. But overpopulation is the thing, and it's getting worse and worse. There's quality of life, just straight up, you know, starving to death. Like, starving kids in Africa isn't a joke. That's shit that happens. There's starving kids everywhere. There's starving kids here. There's starving kids in pretty much every country because they couldn't afford to get an abortion. They have religious reasons against abortion, which is just not even going to go there. Or abortion is illegal in their country. So now the kids are literally starving to death. So when you compare, like, a fetus getting excised, fetus that maybe feels pain, but you know what? So does the food you eat before it gets killed. Getting, you know, a fetus that has never even made it to full growth being excised versus born and starving to death. I wonder which is the more horrible way to go. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up. This is getting way too passionate, and I'm kind of scared to put it out there. Not so much that I'm ashamed of my opinion or anything, but just I know how people like to cherry pick videos and content, and, you know, take out like one clip and be like, she advocates the murder of babies because of this one thing she said. And I'm not looking forward to that, but at the same time, I think it is important to be said. I think that, you know, I don't know how. I'm obviously not an excellent source at knowing how to do what my intention is, but my intention is, as with all my videos, to show my perspective on this subject and let others, you know, not infer, but maybe think about what... I gotta figure out how to turn this fucking auto turn off thing off. Freaking camera. Anyway, what I was going to say is that I want to make sure that... brain fart. I want to leave with the message that, you know, I'm not trying to force you to believe what I do. I am not about that. And as I said at the beginning, I guess, I don't have working video software right now. That's a whole other issue. But anyway, as I said before, I'm not about shocking people into believing what I believe. I don't think that's possible, and I wouldn't, you know, I'm not a fire and brimstone pastor from a fundamentalist church. I don't believe in shocking people to believing what I do. I want people to reach their own decisions through their own, you know, thinking about the subject and thinking, is this the logical choice for me? And so in that sense, I'm trying to present this viewpoint where I am pro-choice. I love kids, but I don't think that giving birth to them is the most important thing always. And I think that there's a lot of criteria you need to think about before you automatically gut punch decide this child has to be born. I think you need to take as much as you can. You need to take the human emotion and fear of death out of it. You need to seriously identify what is this child's quality of life going to be, whether that's, you know, from its own state of being or just the state of being around it, or both, you know, it's always going to be both. Seriously consider that. And, you know, this isn't even so much about people considering abortion for themselves, because that's a whole other thing that I don't even want to try to touch. I'm mostly talking to people who have these opinions and they try to force others to, you know, like, I'm against abortion, so no one should ever be allowed to get an abortion even if you were raped and blah blah blah. Maybe you should stop trying to look at the world in black and white filters and stop trying to categorize things in terms of awfulness and say that this is just, you know, I don't want to think about things, so birth is always the answer. Regardless, that's why. You have a brain. You're watching this. I believe, I believe you, person watching this who I've never met, I believe you have the intelligence and the rationality, if you dig deep, to maybe see the world in shades of gray and 50 Shades of Grey, and realize that, you know, it's a case-by-case basis, and there's a lot to consider before you make that unanimous decision. But yeah, if anyone actually is watching this and isn't just, you know, rapidly sending death threats to me or trying to call the FBI on me as a terrorist or some crazy thing, oh, internet, please leave a comment and you know, tell me your own opinions. And if they're polar opposite from mine, that's fine. If they're exactly like mine, that's fine. If you feel like I'm a crazy baby murderer, you know, psychopath, well, I wonder if you actually watched the video, and maybe you should calm down a little bit and maybe watch it again, and again realize I'm not advocating murder of, you know, every pregnancy and every child or whatever. I'm just saying, again, for the millionth time, it's situationally based, and some things are worse than others. Some things are even worse than death. Calm down and come back to this video when you're calmer, watch it again, and then write your comment out, and with as little expletives and death threats as possible, explain why you feel that birth always is the most logical choice. And please try to use more logic than because baby's human precious life. That's not an argument. Not for me. Maybe for you and, you know, your church friends, but not for me. And otherwise, if you have been watching my videos for a while and you're just glad to see me make new videos again, then please let me know as well, because it really does make me feel more inclined to make videos if people are actually watching them, and actually watching them to think about them, not just watching them to masturbate and tell me, oh my god, I love your tits and blah blah blah, because again,
watch the other videos where I've already talked about that subject for so many times, but that's not the point. That's not the point of these videos. Believe what you want, that's not the point. I got really passionate stuff on that video. Alright, well I'm going to have to figure out how to add these two videos together because we got a new computer on Black Friday and I can't get my old video making stuff to work on it, so I guess I'm going to have to try and find some free one and figure that out until I can afford a Adobe CC subscription, which I don't want to do, but it seems like the only thing that works on Windows 10. I'm gonna put a shirt on too because it's cold. Alright, thanks for watching, and leave a comment, and if you have future subjects you want a video on, you can leave it and I will consider it if it's something I actually am interested in and think that I have something to add on it and haven't already done a video about it. That's it. Thanks for watching. Bye! Hi, all the time to keep you on my mind. Ooh, ooh, hi, all the time. Ugh, that is not something I wanted to download. Fuck. Whatever. I accidentally downloaded anti-abortion propaganda trying to find references for my video. That's what happens when you try to be prepared. Alright. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Alright. Dog? You wanna be up here? Wanna be up here? Yes. Ow! I'm giving you permission. Right here. Okay. Calm dog. Calm dog. Nice dog. How can you say without choking on your own bile that you support free speech for Nazis, but not for non-sexual women's nipples?
It's
what?
bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's bullshit.